That autumn morning, I stood frozen in my kitchen, clutching the chipped coffee mug my daughter Emily gave me for Father's Day years ago. Its faded "Best Dad" lettering mocked the weight crushing my chest, a weight I couldn't name but felt like the end of everything. It wasn't just another day. It was the day I realized my family, the ones I'd built my world around, had erased me from their lives. When did it start? Was it the silences that drowned out Emily's laughter, once the heartbeat of our home? Or was it that one night I still can't bring myself to speak of? Staring at an old photo of us, me, Emily, her brothers, their mother, I saw a frame that no longer hung on their walls. I was a ghost now, haunting my own story. Nights blur together, replaying every heated word, every call I didn't answer, every moment I thought I was enough. Was I the one who broke us, or did they choose to let me go? The ache of being forgotten by the ones who called me Dad is a wound that doesn't close. There's a truth buried here, raw and jagged, and I'm digging for it, even if it tears me apart. I'm telling this story because the silence is too heavy to carry alone. If you've ever felt love turn to absence, if you've ever wondered where you went wrong, stay with me. Share your story below, hit that like button, and join me as I unravel why my family left me behind. Let's find the pieces together. I gripped the chipped "Best Dad" mug so hard my knuckles whitened, its faded letters slicing into the hollow ache in my chest. October's chill slithered through the kitchen window, curling around the cracked linoleum like a ghost. But it was the silence that gutted me. Sharp, relentless, a void where Emily's laughter used to live. That laugh, high and reckless, was once the heartbeat of this house, bouncing off walls now coated in dust and regret. It was gone, replaced by a stillness so heavy it screamed their absence, louder than any fight we'd ever had. I stood frozen, staring at the mug's jagged edge, its "Best Dad" lie mocking me like a smirk from someone who knows your secrets. I set it down, hands shaking, and rummaged through a drawer, fishing out an old photo. Me, Emily, Jake, Noah, Sarah, frozen in a smile that lied about our forever. The edges were creased, the colors faded like the memory itself was trying to slip away. We were at the county fair, Sarah's hair catching the sunlight, Noah's sticky cotton candy fingers smudging my shirt. I had felt whole then, hadn't I? Or was that a lie too? My phone buzzed, snapping me back. A neighbor's text, nosy and pointless. "Why's your car still in the driveway, Tom?" No word from my kids, not a single one. Their silence was a wall, and I was on the wrong side. I traced the mug's crack with my thumb, seeing Emily's gap-toothed grin from that Father's Day 6 years ago. She'd been 7, all pigtails and pride, handing me the mug like it was a trophy. Was that when she still loved me? The question clawed at me, raw and ugly. I wanted to believe it was true, but doubt festered like mold in the corners of my mind. Sarah's voice slithered in, sharp as a blade. "You're never here, even when you're home." She'd said it during one of our last fights. Her eyes hard, her words slicing deeper than I'd admitted. I pushed the memory down, but it burned. A coal lodged in my throat. That night I sat in the dark, the mug cold in my hands, its weight heavier than I could bear. I scoured old voicemails on my phone, desperate for Emily's voice, her giggle, her chatter, anything to prove she'd once been mine. Static hissed back like my life had been erased, reduced to white noise. I scrolled through years of messages, each one a reminder of calls I'd ignored, moments I'd let slip. Jake's voice, rough with teenage bravado, asking me to his game. Noah's quiet plea for art supplies, nothing recent, nothing alive. The kitchen clock ticked, each second a nail in the coffin of the life I'd had. I stared at the photo again, their faces blurring through my tears. Emily's eyes, so like mine, seemed to accuse me. Jake's grin, once my mirror, now felt foreign. Noah's shy smile, Sarah's steady gaze, they were gone and I was the one left behind. This wasn't just absence, they'd chosen to forget me, to scrub me from their story like a stain. The mug sat there, its crack a map of my failure, and I wondered if I'd ever been the dad it claimed I was. I wandered through the house, each room a tomb for memories I couldn't bury. The air was stale, thick with the scent of neglect. Old coffee grounds, dust, and something sour like my own regret. Emily's bedroom was first, its door creaking like a warning. The walls were bare, her pop star posters gone, ripped down like she'd wanted to erase every trace of her childhood. The bed was too neat, hospital crisp, as if she'd never danced here, singing off-key to songs I'd pretended to hate. I stood in the doorway, my chest tight, picturing her twirling, her laughter filling the space. Now it was just silence, a void that swallowed me whole. Next was Jake's room, cluttered with ghosts of his teenage years. Under his bed I found his old baseball glove, its leather cracked and stiff, smelling of dirt from games I never saw. I held it, my fingers tracing the stitches, remembering the crack of his bat, the crowd's roar I'd heard only through his stories. I'd been at work, always at work, chasing a promotion that meant nothing now. The glove felt like an accusation, heavy with the weight of missed chances. I set it down, my throat burning, and moved on, each step sinking me deeper into the wreckage. Noah's sketchbook lay open on the kitchen counter, its pages curling, his monster drawings glaring at me with jagged teeth and hollow eyes. Had I become the monster in his world? His lines were angry, sharp, each stroke a cry I'd ignored. I flipped through, finding a sketch of a family. 4 figures, no fifth. My absence was drawn in ink. I slammed it shut, my hands shaking, and dialed Sarah's number. Her voicemail answered, clipped and professional, a stranger's voice shutting me out. I wanted to scream, to beg, but the line went dead like my connection to them. Outside, a neighbor's dog barked, its yip slicing through the silence of a house without footsteps, without fights, without life. I flinched, the sound too loud in a world gone quiet. Back in Emily's room, I rummaged through her desk, desperate for something to hold on to. A crumpled note fell out, her childish scrawl stabbing me. "Dad, why don't you see me?" The ink was smudged, maybe from her tears, maybe mine. When had she written this? A year ago, too? I clutched it, my stomach twisting, the question echoing in the hollow of my chest. I sank to the floor, Noah's sketchbook in one hand, Emily's note in the other. Their pain a mirror to my failure. The house felt like a museum of my mistakes, each room preserving a moment I'd let slip. Jake's glove, Noah's monsters, Emily's empty walls, they were all proof of what I'd done or hadn't done. I'd thought love was enough, that being here physically was enough. But I'd been wrong. Their absence wasn't just physical, it was deliberate. A calculated act of erasure. They'd scrubbed me from their story, and I was left chasing shadows in rooms that no longer held them. I pressed the note to my chest, its words burning, and wondered if I'd ever find a way back to them. Or if I was doomed to haunt this empty house forever. I lay awake that one night, clawing at my mind, a memory so raw it felt like treason to face it. The bedroom was a cave, shadows pooling in the corners, the silence broken only by my ragged breaths. I'd buried that night deep, locked it away where it couldn't hurt me. But it was alive now, scratching at the edges of my sanity. I saw Sarah's face, her eyes wild with hurt, her voice breaking as she begged me to stay. I saw Emily small and trembling, her sobs a sound I'd never unhear. I'd walked out, slammed the door, thinking I'd fix it later. There was no later. I drove to our old diner at dawn, chasing the ghost of Sunday pancakes, the clatter of forks, Noah's sticky fingers stealing my bacon. The booth was empty now, its red vinyl cracked, the air sour with grease and absence. I sat there staring at the table where we'd laughed, where Jake had spilled his milkshake and Sarah had rolled her eyes but smiled. The waitress, her name tag reading Barb, gave me a pitying glance that cut deeper than words. "Haven't seen your kids lately," she said, her voice soft like she knew I was breaking. I nodded, my throat too tight to speak, and left a tip I couldn't afford. Back home, I dug through my wallet, finding a Father's Day receipt, 2 years old, with Emily's heart doodle in purple ink. I didn't earn that love, didn't deserve the way she'd looked at me then. Like I could do no wrong. I'd been wrong about everything. In the living room, I opened a box of Sarah's forgotten things, scarves, a cracked watch, a life I'd lost. A letter slipped out, addressed to me in her sharp, angry script. My hands froze, my pulse hammering. I couldn't open it, not yet. It felt like a bomb, its truth ready to shred what little I had left. I sat on the porch, the street quiet except for the hum of a distant car. Jake used to wobble down this road on his bike, his grin wide, fearless. A car slowed and my heart leapt, stupid, desperate hope. then sank. It wasn't them. It'd never be them. That night I dreamed of the fight again, Sarah's scream high and jagged, Emily's sobs, my voice roaring back, cruel and careless. I woke gasping, sweat soaking my shirt, the memory sharper than ever. I'd broken something that night, something I couldn't name but felt in every bone. I stumbled to the kitchen, the letter still on the table, its weight heavier than the mug, its truth waiting to gut me. I held it, my fingers trembling, imagining Sarah's words. Accusations, truths, maybe forgiveness, though I didn't deserve it. The house creaked around me, a hollow shell holding my failures. I wanted to call them, to beg, to scream, but their numbers were walls, their silence a fortress. I was a ghost, haunting my own life, and that night was the blade that carved me out. Have you ever wondered if one choice broke everything you loved? Share below. Sarah's letter stared at me from the kitchen table, her handwriting a quiet accusation I couldn't ignore. The morning light was harsh, slicing through the blinds, spotlighting the dust motes that danced over my failure. I poured coffee into Emily's mug. The best dad letters faded to a cruel whisper. My hand shook when I saw the letter's date. 6 months ago, November, when the leaves were blood red and I was still blind to how far they'd gone. How had I missed it? I'd been drowning in work, in whiskey, in anything that kept me from facing the truth. The mug slipped, coffee splashing, burning my hand. I didn't flinch. I deserved worse. I tore the letter open, my heart hammering so loud it drowned out the clock's tick. You broke us. You chose yourself. Sarah's words were knives, precise and cold, each syllable carving into the soft parts of me. She wrote of nights I wasn't there, of promises I broke, of kids who waited for a dad who never showed. I remembered that night now, the one I'd buried, Sarah pleading, her voice raw, me storming out, the door slamming like a gunshot. I'd thought I'd fix it tomorrow, that love was a debt I could pay later. There was no later, only this emptiness. I dialed Jake's number, desperate, my fingers clumsy, voicemail full. Noah's line was dead, disconnected, a final cut. My kids were fortresses, their walls built from my neglect. I sank into a chair, Sarah's letter crumpled in my fist, and saw Emily's face, her school play, the one I missed for a meeting that meant nothing. She'd sat in the car after, her eyes blank like she'd given up on me. I hadn't seen it then, hadn't wanted to, now it was all I could see. I drove to Sarah's new house, a tidy split level I'd never seen, its windows glowing with a warmth I'd lost. A man's shadow moved in seed, tall and easy, like he belonged. My stomach lurched, bile rising. Who was he? Why was he there where I should have been? I didn't knock, didn't dare. I wasn't welcome, not after that night, not after years of choosing myself over them. I sat in my car, the letters' words looping in my head, each one a nail in the coffin of the life I'd had. Back home, I stared at the mug, its crack a map of my mistakes. Sarah's letter didn't lie. I'd been gone long before they left. I'd chosen work, the bar, the easy out, thinking they'd wait for me. They didn't. The kitchen was a graveyard, the photo from the fair still in the drawer, its smiles mocking me. I wanted to call Emily to beg for her voice, but her number was a dead end too. I was a stranger in my own story, and Sarah's words were the proof. I'd erased myself first, long before they turned away. My reflection in the bathroom mirror was a ghost I didn't know, hollow-eyed, a stranger wearing my face. The fluorescent light buzzed, casting shadows that deepened the bags under my eyes, the lines etched by years of running from myself. I splashed water on my face, but it didn't wash away the truth. I was unraveling, a man undone by his own choices. On the sink, I found Emily's pink hair tie, a fragile loop left behind. I held it, willing it to pull her back, to bring back her laughter, her trust. It was just elastic, limp and useless in my hand. At the grocery store, a girl's laugh stopped me cold, Emily's echo, high and bright. I turned, heart racing, but it was someone else's daughter. Her ponytail bouncing as she ran to her dad. My chest cracked open, the pain sharp and raw. I abandoned my cart, the milk and bread forgotten, and drove home. The hair tie still in my pocket, a relic of a life I'd lost. I called my sister Ellen, the only family I had left. "You pushed them too far, Tom," she said, her voice soft but brutal, like a doctor delivering bad news. "They waited for you, but you kept walking away." Back home, I found a video on my phone, Noah's 10th birthday 3 years ago. The candles flickered, his smile wide. But there I was in the background on a call, my back to him. I hadn't seen his joy, hadn't noticed how he looked for me. I played it again, the sound muted, my failure loud. That night I sat in Emily's room, the walls bare, her absence a weight on my chest. I whispered apologies to the dark, my voice breaking. "Did you ever hear me, Emily?" I wanted her to know I was sorry, but the silence answered instead. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Stop looking for us." Ice ran through my veins. Was it Sarah guarding her new life? Someone else? Someone worse? I stared at the screen, the words blurring, my hands shaking. I opened Noah's sketchbook, flipping to a drawing, a monster with my eyes, its mouth a jagged scream. Had he seen me like this, even then? The sketch was a mirror reflecting the man I'd become, the one I'd let myself be. I stood in the bathroom again, staring at the stranger in the glass. The hair tie was still in my hand, its pink faded like my connection to them. Ellen's words echoed, "You pushed them too far." I saw every moment I'd missed. Jake's games, Noah's art, Emily's plays, each one a brick in the wall they'd built against me. I wasn't just a ghost, I was the architect of my own erasure. What would you say to someone you hurt if you had one last chance? Tell me below. That text gnawed at me, a faceless warning from someone who wanted me gone. Stop looking for us. The words looped in my head, sharp and cold, like a blade pressed to my throat. I sat in the dark, my phone glowing, its screen a taunt. I traced the number online, my fingers clumsy, but it was a dead end, a burner phone, untraceable, a ghost like me. Whoever sent it knew how to hide, knew how to keep me out. I stared at the kitchen ceiling, cracks spider webbing across it, mirroring the fractures in my life. I drove to Jake's old baseball field at dusk. The grass overgrown, the bleachers rusted. The air smelled of dust and regret, the kind that settles in your lungs. His coach, a grizzled man with a limp, remembered him. "Jake quit after you stopped showing up," he said, his eyes pitying but hard. I nodded, my throat tight, picturing Jake's swing, the one I'd never cheered. I'd been at the office, chasing a deal, thinking it mattered more. The field was empty now, like my promises, and I left with nothing but guilt. At home, I found an email from Sarah, a year old, buried in my inbox. "We're moving on." I hadn't opened it then, hadn't cared enough to notice. Now it burned, her words a quiet indictment of my absence. I called Emily's friend Mia, my voice cracking as I begged for answers. "She's broken, Mr. Carter," Mia said, her tone soft but unflinching. "You weren't there when she needed you." I saw Emily's face, her eyes dull after I missed her play, her graduation, her life. Mia hung up, and the silence was louder than ever. That night, the fight replayed in my dream. Sarah's voice cracking, Emily sobbing, my door slamming like a gavel. I woke screaming, sweat soaking my shirt, the memory a wound that wouldn't close. A package arrived the next morning. No sender, no note. Inside was a photo of my kids, Emily, Jake, Noah, smiling at a park, their faces bright, free of me. The photo was a knife twisting deep. They were happy and I wasn't part of it. I clutched it, my hands shaking, their joy a wound I couldn't stitch. I opened Noah's sketchbook again, its monsters staring back, their eyes too familiar. One had my jawline, my scowl. Had he drawn me like this even as a kid? The lines were angry, jagged, each stroke a piece of his pain. I wanted to call him, to beg for forgiveness, but his number was gone like Jake's, like Emily's. The text from the unknown number glowed in my mind, a shadow I couldn't name. Was it Sarah guarding her new life? Or someone else? Someone who'd taken my place? I sat in the dark, the photo and sketchbook in my lap, their happiness and anger, two sides of my failure. That night's memory was jagged glass, cutting deeper each time I touched it. I couldn't hide anymore, couldn't pretend I hadn't shattered everything. I drove to the bar where it all unraveled, its neon sign pulsing like my guilt, flickering red in the dusk. The place smelled of stale beer and regret, the kind that clings to your skin. I sat at the counter, the wood sticky, picturing that night, Sarah's voice, raw and desperate. "You're choosing whiskey over us." I'd laughed. A cruel, careless sound, and walked out, the door slamming behind me. I'd thought I'd come back, that love could wait. I was wrong. Back home, I found Noah's journal in his room. Its pages yellowed, his handwriting shaky. Dad doesn't care. Each word was a fist to my gut, bruising me from the inside. I saw his face, quiet and watchful, waiting for me to notice his sketches, his heart. I hadn't. I called my old boss, my voice tight, asking about the job that stole me away. "You chased that promotion," he said, his tone flat. Never said why. I hadn't needed to. Ambition was my drug, more addictive than the whiskey I drowned in that night. At midnight, I parked outside Sarah's new house, the lights warm, mocking my cold car. A man's silhouette moved inside, tall, calm, at ease where I should have been. My chest burned, a fire I couldn't douse. Who was he? Why did he get to stand in my place? I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white, Sarah's letter echoing. "You broke us." I found a voicemail from Emily, deleted months ago but lingering in my trash. "Dad, I miss you." Her voice was small, hopeful, a sound I didn't deserve. I played it on repeat, each loop a lash against my heart. The text's sender was David, I learned after digging through social media. "They're mine now," he'd written, his words a cold claim on my kids. I saw his face online, steady, kind. A teacher who probably never missed a game or a play. I hated him, but I hated myself more. That night, I'd slammed the door, thinking I'd walk back through, that they'd wait. They didn't. The bar's neon sign flashed in my memory, a beacon of my failure, pulling me away from the family I'd sworn to love. I sat in Noah's room, his journal open, its words a mirror to my shame. I saw every moment I'd missed. Jake's home runs, Emily's curtain calls, Noah's quiet art shows. I'd been at meetings, at bars, anywhere but with them. The voicemail played again, Emily's voice, a ghost I couldn't hold. I wanted to drive back to Sarah's, to bang on the door, to beg, but David's text stopped me. Its truth colder than the night. I'd broken the door and they'd locked it behind me. David wasn't just a shadow in Sarah's window. He was the man my kids called Dad now, living the life I'd thrown away. I found him online, his face infuriatingly kind, a teacher with a steady smile and eyes that didn't carry my guilt. His LinkedIn was a punch. Beloved educator, devoted father, devoted to my kids. I scrolled through his posts, each one a knife, Emily at a science fair, Jake at a game. Noah's art pinned to a fridge that wasn't mine. They called him Dad and I was nothing, a ghost erased from their story. I went to Noah's art show uninvited, the gallery buzzing with parents and his drawings hung on white walls, dark and jagged. Monsters with teeth like my failures. He wasn't there. A teacher said he'd moved schools, his voice clipped like I didn't belong. I stared at a sketch, its eyes too familiar, and felt the room spin. I'd missed his talent, his pain, his everything. I left, the air outside cold, my breath visible, my absence permanent. Emily's social media was worse, her smile brighter than I'd ever made it, her posts full of David's steady presence. A photo of her laughing at a picnic, his arm around her, gutted me. She looked happy, happier than with me, and I hated how much that hurt. I drove to a coffee shop to confront Sarah, my hands shaking as I waited. She walked in, her face tired but hard. "You replaced me," I said, my voice low, breaking. "You left first," she shot back, unflinching, her eyes cutting through my excuses. That night, the mug slipped from my hands, shattering on the kitchen floor, its best dad lie in pieces. I sank to my knees, the shards sharp under my palms, my tears mixing with the dust. Emily's graduation came back, a memory I'd buried. I'd promised to be there, sworn it on her hopeful smile. I was at a bar instead, chasing a deal, a drink, anything but her. David was there, clapping, his face in her photos, not mine. I'd handed him my place, my kids, my life. I found Jake's glove again, its stitches frayed like our bond, each thread a game I'd missed, a moment I'd lost. Sarah's words echoed, "You left first," she was right. I'd walked out night after night, thinking they'd wait. They didn't. The coffee shop confrontation played on repeat, her voice steady, mine cracking. I wanted to scream, to beg, but she'd already moved on, built a life without my shadow. David was their anchor now, and I was just the wreckage they'd left behind. I wrote letters to my kids, words I'd never send, pouring out the sorry I'd held too long. The kitchen was dark, the table littered with crumpled drafts, my pen shaking as I tried to make sense of my failure. Emily's letter came first, each word a plea for forgiveness. Her play, her graduation, her life I'd missed. I saw her face blank after I skipped her curtain call, her eyes dull with the weight of my absence. I wrote until my hand cramped, the ink smudging, my guilt bleeding onto the page. Jake's letter was harder. He'd worshipped me once, his hero in a baseball cap. I wrote of games I never saw, of his home runs I'd heard about secondhand, of the pride I'd failed to show. His glove sat beside me, its leather a reminder of what I'd broken. Noah's letter was the worst, a gut punch I didn't survive. I begged him to forgive me for missing his art, his quiet heart, the monsters he'd drawn to make sense of my absence. Each word was a shard cutting me open. I mailed the letters to Sarah's house, no return address. My hands trembling as I dropped them in the box. Would they read them? Would they care? I didn't expect answers, didn't deserve them, but the act felt like breathing after years underwater. David's reply came instead, a single page in neat script. They're healing. Let them be." His words were a wall, solid and cold, keeping me out of their new life. I read it again, my chest tight, his calm authority a mirror to my chaos. In my wallet I found the beach photo, us laughing whole, the sand warm under our feet. I couldn't remember the last time I'd laughed, not like that, not with them. The memory was a bruise, tender and raw. I called Mia, Emily's friend, desperate for a thread to hold on to. "She keeps your photo," Mia said, her voice soft, "but she's not ready." Hope and pain collided, a spark in the dark. Emily still had me, somewhere. Even if it was just a picture in a drawer. I sat in the kitchen, the letters gone, the photo in my hand. Noah's sketchbook open beside me. His monsters were softer now, their eyes less angry, or maybe I was seeing what I wanted. I'd tried to rebuild, to piece together what I'd shattered, but the fragments were too sharp, too scattered. The house creaked, its silence louder than my apologies. I wanted to believe they'd read my words, that they'd feel my regret, but David's note was a truth I couldn't dodge. They were healing without me, and I was still breaking. I stood in my kitchen, the mug's shards gone, swept into a dustpan like the pieces of my old life. The morning light was soft, almost forgiving, but I wasn't whole. Not yet. I was here, though, fighting to be more than a ghost. I drove to Sarah's house one last time, a new mug in my hands. "I'm sorry," painted in shaky letters. I left it on the porch, its weight a quiet offering. I didn't knock, didn't dare disrupt the life they'd built without me. The street was silent, the air crisp, and I walked away, lighter but not free. In therapy, I said the words aloud. I'd left them long before they left me. The truth was a blade, sharp but necessary, cutting through years of denial. My therapist's office smelled of coffee and old books, a safe place to bleed. I saw Emily's face, Jake's swing, Noah's sketches, and owned each moment I'd missed. It hurt, but it was mine to carry. A letter came from Emily, one line in her careful script. I read it. "I need time." My heart leapt, then sank, a fragile spark in the dark. Time was something, at least. I joined a support group, fathers like me. Their regrets a mirror, their stories raw. One man spoke of his daughter's wedding, missed for a fight he couldn't recall. Another of a son who wouldn't speak. Their pain was mine, but their hope, small, stubborn, gave me air. I listened, my voice breaking as I shared my own failures, the mug, the letters, the silence. They nodded, no judgment, and I felt seen, maybe for the first time. At the beach from our old photo, I scattered the mug's shards into the waves, their edges dulled by the water. The sand was cold, the sky gray, but the act was a release, a letting go of the man I'd been. I saw us there laughing, Emily's hair tangled with salt, Jake chasing waves, Noah sketching in the sand. I'd been there once, whole. I could be again, maybe. Back home, I hung the beach photo, its frame a promise to keep fighting, to be better than my mistakes. Noah's sketchbook lay open, its monsters softer now, their eyes less like mine. I traced a line, his line, and felt a shift, a small hope that I could change what he saw in me. The house wasn't a tomb anymore, not quite. It was a place to start, to rebuild. This isn't over. It's raw, fragile, a beginning. I'm still here, clawing my way back to the man I should have been. If you've fought to reclaim what you lost, if you've carried a regret too heavy to name, hit that like button, share your story, and subscribe. Let's rebuild together.